I'm Lisa. Welcome to my glass studio. You know, working with glass is wonderful. We start out with big sheets and then we cut that down and we use it for projects, and then we cut that down and we use that for more projects, and then we end up with a bunch of scrap. And because every single little piece is usable and the material is expensive, we don't want to get rid of any of those little pieces. So then there's this issue. What do I do with my scrap? How do I store it? How do I keep it safe? How do I sort it? Well, I had asked my members, and we did a survey, and I asked them some questions about how they store their glass, and they were super wonderful, fabulous, great responses, and really, really helpful ideas that you are gonna love. Before we get into that though, I'd like to show you how I store my scrap. Now, this just works for me. Of course, your own method, your own, space might dictate how you have to store your scrap. But for me, I've got this great rack right here, and I have these bins, these plastic bins. So I'm gonna pull this out, and look how loaded this is. It doesn't really work too well because I can't get to any of the tiny pieces, and look, it just wants to like fall right out of the container. Nice thing about these containers is they're real sturdy. We asked our members in a survey how they store their scrap glass, and 90%, over 90% recommended some sort of plastic container. Some with lids, some without lids, and they all recommended that you look before you take that scrap glass out so you don't get cut. So I've got these cool containers. So other people use different styles. It's a matter of whatever works in your studio and stores well for you and fits well. This happens to work for me. Now, these bins were given to me years ago and they've deteriorated, and some of them are just dirty looking, so I'm kind of tired of looking at these. So we went ahead and bought new bins that are pretty and clean, and the plastic is in good condition, so I feel like these will be sturdy, and being sturdy means they're going to be safer when I go to handle the glass. So what I intend to do is take all of this glass here and all these overflowing bins. I have a lot of blue, a lot of green, a lot of red, and I'm going to take these overflowing bins and separate the glass by color, and then put larger pieces in bins and then smaller pieces of the same color in another bin next to it. That way, when I have a project that I'm working on where I only need tiny little pieces, I can go right to that bin with the small pieces. When I have a project where I want some larger pieces to pick from, well, then I can go to that bin and pick those pieces out. I store my scrap glass by COE and by color. And as it turns out, from the survey results, over 70% of our members do the same thing. They sort by color and by COE. All right, so I've got this green. Green is a very popular color for me. And go ahead and take these big pieces and put them in the bin. Now, I noticed when glass sticks up above the bin, that's not particularly good. And if glass has a really pointy spot, like this one, you probably can't see too well because of the color, but like this one is very pointy. Hold it up against there so you can see it. So I would put it in the bin with the pointy part down. I think you're less likely to get cut that way. Now, is this considered small or large? I think that's kind of considered small, so I'm gonna put that in this bin here. Put these nice square ones in here. Another thing some of the members recommend is when you're going through your scrap glass like this, is to use a tool like a wooden dowel or a screwdriver or something to stir through the glass rather than your finger. You're less likely to get cut that way. Now, this is a small piece, so we'll go ahead and stick it in this bin. Bigger ones over here, smaller ones over here. Now, these are really nice size, so I could certainly use those for something something larger. This one maybe doesn't even belong in this bin. I think that belongs in a different bin. That color. There's a nice piece of olive green. So by sorting it in such a way that you have the bigger pieces visible and sorting them kind of like this, it's easier to kind of move that glass around and see what colors you have. And all the little pieces are not just buried on the bottom. I know. It's okay. Yes. All right. So because I want to get all this done now, Nikki's going to help me sort the glass. So I'm working on green, and Nikki came over here and I asked her, what color do you want to work on?
Take a guess.
Yes, and then I laughed at myself because, in case you haven't noticed, blue is Nikki's color. Every time you ask her what color is her favorite, what color she wants to paint something, what color she wants to color something, it's always blue. So, of course, we have blue, and we have a lot of blue. So go ahead, grab some, Nikki, and let's start sorting. I'll move over to make room for you. All right, so blue is absolutely overflowing. So we're gonna probably hear a few pieces hit the floor. All right, okay, nice. Yeah, wow. Okay, so she's gonna have to take it off the top just to get it over here. She's gonna take it off the top just to get it over here to start managing sorting it. Oh boy. All right, little pieces in one bin, bigger pieces in the other bin.
Would this be considered blue?
No, that's not blue at all, so it's in the wrong bin. Good, good, we'll pull that over here. And this one's also not in the right bin.
What would be small versus large?
Well, we're gonna consider stuff like this small, stuff that you know, are just pure scrap, compared to maybe a strip or a piece like this that you might be able to use for something else. Although, there really is no rhyme or reason to this. The idea is to make the scrap more manageable. Oh, look, there's a piece of blue in with my green. There's more blue in with my green. Okay, see? Getting to the bottom. We're getting to the bottom of this. I have quite a bit of blue. Well, actually, that's a teal. I don't know. I think that's blue for sure. This is for sure blue. And that's teal, so put that in here. Oh, that's teal. Okay, so we're making some great progress already. So I have a bin of small pieces, a bin of larger pieces for my green, and now I'm left with a bunch of little tiny pieces. Well, rather than use my hands, I'm just going to use the dustpan and broom, scoop it up, and then put it in this bin. Isn't that a beautiful sound? Just love that sound. All right, so, oh, almost done, almost there, almost there. All right, I got 2 more green bins to go through, so we'll go ahead and get that taken care of. All right, well, as we're digging in here, we're finding out that the glass was stacked so high that it's overflowing into different bins. So I found all this purple in with the green, and Nikki found this in with the blue, as well as this, which we're not sure where to put because it's both blue and green. And then as I'm going through this bin, which is next to the green and sort of between the green and the blue, I'm finding purple, and lavender, and that is a olive green. So I'm finding all sorts of things. That's a pretty aqua blue. So this material was really in need of organization, because now, not only as I'm going through, am I realizing what material I have on hand for future projects, but I'm also kind of getting a sense of, you know, sizes and, you know, I'm kind of getting inspired to make something out of all this scrap. So what we're going to do is continue. I'm going to go through this bin, which has purple, green, blue, separate it into the different bins, and then we're just going to keep on moving our way through this shelf till we get all of these pieces organized and separated by color. We are making a lot of progress, and it feels so good to be going through the scrap. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 bins already done, and not a single Band-Aid. It's a great day. It's amazing, right? Yes. Not a single Band-Aid. So what we're doing is just picking up the pieces, dumping them, picking up the pieces, putting them in a bin, and then sweeping that last little bit. And we've been sweeping the little shards also, sweeping them with this dustpan and broom. As we're going along, I had the purple and pink together, and then I realized I had quite a bit of pink, and I have quite a bit of purple. So I decided I think I have the bins, so we separated them. So I'm looking forward to using this material a little bit more in the future now that I don't have to rummage through and separate the purple from the pink. Now this purple includes like a grape purple and a maroon purple, but I think that's okay. So I've got some different shades in here. And then at any rate, I've got some strips, nice long strips I can use for something. Then this bin, we put all the mixed colors. You know, this nice Fusers Reserve that has a lot of different pattern to it. We weren't sure, is this amber, is it teal, is it white? You know, what do we do with it? So we gave it its own bin. So when we're looking for something with a lot of pattern, we'll just go to this bin to look for it. As I'm placing the pieces back in, I'm trying to keep the taller pieces to the back of the bin, and I'm trying to keep the pointy parts down so that as you stick your hand into the bin, you know, you can look and see that taller stuff to help minimize any, getting cut when you put your hand in there. So I'm real thrilled with what's happening here. This has been a long time coming. I've really been looking forward to doing this. And you know, sometimes you just gotta put a little time into getting reorganized, to get remotivated, to make some pieces. And I've got some great ideas coming up for how to use these different scrap pieces on new projects. Well, it took us a little while. We cleared out a whole bunch of bins, got rid of a bunch of ugly old ones, I'm happy to say. Got some new ones in there that I'm really pleased with the way they look, and I feel like they're much more secure because they're in good condition. They don't feel like they're going to snap apart or break when we pull those heavy loads of scrap glass out. Turns out we have 3 bins of blue, 2 bins of green, 2 bins of clear, 2 bins of black, 1 iridized black, and 1 regular black. I've never had my iridized black and regular black separated before, so that's kind of fun. I have pinks separated from purples. I haven't had that before. Yellow, orange, and red are all in independent bins. So although some of those bins aren't really full, don't have a lot of material, at least if I know I'm going for a color, I can get right to it pretty quickly and easily, and hopefully with less risk of getting cut. And believe it or not, with all that glass we just moved, which was quite a bit, several pounds I'm sure, neither one of us needed a Band-Aid. So that is always a terrific day in the studio when you don't need a Band-Aid. So we are thankful for that. I have some clear scrap left over, and frankly, I got tired of sorting it. And these pieces are tiny. Not a whole lot to be done with them. So I'm just going to shovel those up, and we're going to dump them. Now I might keep this box over here, I might not. I'm not sure. You know, I have plenty of scrap from so many projects that there's just a little bit of satisfaction in that sound. So I'm gonna sweep this up here and give you a little better look at these bins. There we go. Okay. I'll vacuum this next. And anyway, check out these bins. How lovely they are now. There's not a lot of material sticking up above the bins. They're not organized in rainbow order. They're organized randomly, but they're organized by color and by COE. So that's the important thing. So when we're creating projects, we know we can be confident that we're working with all the same COE in one area, and then we can just pick glass based on whether we want, a certain color, whether we want transparent, opaque, whatever. But look at this great selection we got going over here. And these new bins are really nice because it looks uniform, it looks clean and neat. Big improvement over those other bins. So, maybe it's time for you to do a little bit of organizing and shaking up your scrap glass and kind of refurbishing it so that it's more accessible, more usable, and user-friendly. All right, so I showed you how I store my scrap glass, and I'm pretty pleased with the way that came out in those bins where it's accessible and, and visually pleasing to look at as well as accessible. I'd like to also show you how I store my sheet glass and how I separate my COE. So over here, this is all my 96 compatible material right here. Okay, and so if I have a square foot piece or smaller that is up here, and then my half sheets down here, my 2 foot by 2 foot pieces are down in this area. Then up here where you see this little sign and this string, from here over on that top shelf is all of my 90 COE material. When I work with that, I take it down, I work with it by itself, I clean up, and then I put it away back up in that area. And that's how I keep my two materials separate so I don't get cross-contamination between working with the two materials on the same project. Then down here, I come from a stained glass background. So I have some stained glass material left from when I did windows, and it's still beautiful glass. I love it. I didn't want to get rid of it. It's still great for mosaic, maybe some garden pieces, different types of art. So I have that stored down here with a big sign that says, not fusible, stained glass, not fusible, not fusible. And I've got 2 strings so that you can't pull any of this material out without touching that string. And so hopefully so far I've not had any issues where we've had anybody use that for fused glass. So I have the stained glass down here so it doesn't get accidentally used in a fused glass project.
What happens if you use stained glass in a fused glass project?
That's a great question, Nikki. What happens if you use stained glass in a fused glass project? Well, if you cut a piece of glass off a single sheet and you use more pieces off that same sheet, you know it's compatible because it came originally in a single sheet. But you cannot take, in theory, you should not take this pink glass and this blue glass and put them together. If you cut from this pink glass, cut pieces, so you cut 4 flower petals out of that pink, and you overlap and put them back together, it should be fine because they came from a single glass. If you take that pink glass and then you cut 4 petals out of that blue and put the 2 together, it's likely you're going to have breakage. The best case scenario is you're going to have inconsistent results. So if you do that today, you may have success. If you do it next week, you may have success. If you do it in 6 months from now and you intend to sell these projects or give them away or use them in something that's more permanent, like in a coaster or a trivet or a lamp, the results will vary. You may not have consistent results down the road. So that's why it's always important to work with compatible materials, because it gives you that confidence that you will have consistency today, tomorrow, 6 months from now, and in the future when you decide how and what you're going to do with that project.
So what is the difference between fusible glass and stained glass?
That's another great question. The difference between fusible and stained glass is fusible glass is specifically formulated and then tested to be compatible. So when a manufacturer puts a product out there, like Oceanside Compatible, they are suggesting and encouraging and stand behind the technology, the formulation, the testing, and the packaging of that material. What this means is when you take a piece of white and a piece of blue that are oceanside compatible, and you put them together, they are considered compatible, and you should have success with that project today, tomorrow, and in 6 months from now. It's giving you the confidence to work with this material and know that you will have success and consistent results.
So a stained glass is supposed to be cut and then put on a stained glass frame versus being melted together with other glass.
Exactly. So that's great. Yes, good clarifying. Thank you. So yeah, fused glass is meant to melt together and be compatible when it expands, when it heats, contracts when it cools. It's compatible. Stained glass is not tested or formulated for that, so we use it differently. You cut the pieces of glass and then you make like a puzzle and you bridge those pieces and connect them with copper foil or with lead. When I started thinking about doing this reorganization out here in my studio, I was curious how other people work things in their studio. So I asked my members, my premium video members, I came up with this survey, a 6-question survey, and I asked them to answer and give me feedback that I could then share with you so that we would have some ideas about, not only how I do it here in my studio, but how other people do it in their studio. And we got some terrific results. They were amazing. We had 35 people respond to this survey and answer questions. And I'm so thrilled and so thankful for them for doing that. So I wanted to share that info with you. So I have to tell you, math has never been my subject. If my high school math teacher told me I would ever get excited about analytics or numbers, I would have said, "You don't know what you're talking about, you're a big fat liar." But oh my gosh, I get super excited about this stuff now. I get excited about numbers, I get excited about progress, I get excited about numbers going higher. So thank you guys for all that. So I want to share these with you. Okay, so my first question is, what do you fuse with? Well, I have this awesome little pie chart here. Isn't that amazing? Like, who knew how cool it would be to have multiple choice questions? And when I say this to other people who math is their thing, they kind of go like, "Lisa, it's about time that you've figured this stuff out." Anyway, so what glass do you fuse with? Well, out of 35 submissions, let's see, 45% work with 90 COE. And then 31% work with 96, and 22% work with, 47% work with both. The highest percentage work with both COEs. I think that's pretty interesting. You think a lot of times, well, most people are like picking a side. And that's not really what I mean, but they're picking a medium or a material and sticking with it. No, everyone's using everything. All right, how do you store your fusible scrap glass? All right, over 90% of the people who responded to the survey recommend some variety of clear plastic container. The most common plastic is shoeboxes. Other great ideas are bins with lids, totes, craft boxes, stackable containers, dish pans, large plastic bags, and the little plastic containers that crackers come in when you buy a box of crackers at the grocery store. That's great for little tiny pieces. All right, if you use 2 or more COEs, how do you keep them separate? Over 50% of the people who responded, who do use more than one COE, they store the COEs in different locations and are careful to label the containers and locations accordingly. So they label, keep the stuff separate. Some people separate rooms, some people separate places in their studio like I'm doing here. But they always mark them very, very carefully and put the stuff back in the appropriate container quickly. All right, how do you organize your scrap glass? I thought this was interesting. The people who responded to the survey, over 70% store it by color. They sort it by color. Then, 14% do it by type, whether it's transparent or opaque. 11% do it by size, big, medium, small. And then the rest do it by brand, whether it's Spectrum, Wismach, Yucca-Haney, Euroburrows, whatever. So, real interesting stuff. Another little pie chart. I'll show you my pie chart, because that's fun. Look at that fun little thing. Now, if you want this, I'm going to put all of this information in my blog that comes out the same time as the video. So you can check out this information in detail there if you're interested, because I think it's fascinating. All right, let's see. I have my things kind of mixed up here. The members also recommended safe handling tips for working with scrap glass and what their favorite use is for scrap glass. But I'm gonna let you read the blog to get all that info. And I also have a nice thank you to all those members, those premium annual members who did participate and help us out with that survey so that we can share this information with you. Be helpful for us, helpful for you. We love that. So please consider subscribing to my YouTube channel. Please send us your feedback. We love that. The feedback is stuff we're using to, plan our editorial calendar and what we're going to do in the future, what topics we're going to hit. So thank you for that. Thank you for joining me today. Please consider becoming a premium video member. We would love to have you. We're adding new videos all the time. I try to keep those videos, their content, their courses, and they're intended to challenge your skill level, show you how to do new and exciting pieces, how to do more advanced techniques with confidence and with my guidance. So please consider becoming a premium video member. We would love to have you. All right, thanks for joining me today. This was wonderful and so fun. Enjoyed sharing scrap glass and how to store glass. And Fritz, another video coming up very soon. So thanks for joining me. And until next time, happy fusing.